Come on, let's do it. Bam, we're here. Hey, what's up, World Wrestling Live, Wrestling Nation? It's the 4 o'clock show, and we have another absolute incredible wrestling mind wrestler on our show, another Pennsylvania great. They just pour him out into our country, and he's here with us today. He's on the world level now as an Adidas athlete. He's a Lehigh alum, NCAA champ, three-time All-American, national team member, as I mentioned, from Allentown, PA. And he's got a brother that doesn't suck too. So we're pretty cool, man. We got him here today. It's Darian Toy Cruz. Did I say that right?
Yes, sir. It's awesome. Thanks for having me, Daniel Ward. Appreciate it. I know we're gonna have some good talk here, good banter. Yeah, chop it up.
Absolute honor to have you on, man. I tell people when I'm like a little kid. I'm like, oh my God, another person wants to come on. I'm like, yeah. So I am just overjoyed. So thank you.
Yeah, and it was pretty quick and easy, right? You hit me up, hit you back, said let's do it.
Yeah, I told somebody that I said, there's a lot of people that'll blow you off when you make the ask that won't respond, and you weren't that guy. You hit me right back, and I appreciate that, man. And it's it's funny because some of the guys that I hit up in wrestling that they're just okay or whatever, but they have a good story, whatever. Some of them have a little ego. Maybe they don't hit me back up, and then I hit you up, who's a world athlete, NCAA champion, high level, and then you're like, hell yeah, I'll do it. Or your boy Mario, hell yeah, I'll do it. These guys are just, I appreciate it. So
yeah, man, let's have some fun.
Yeah, man, hell yeah. So first of all, I mean, obviously the elephant in the room is this pandemic. I know you're still wrestling. I know you do some coaching and you're running around, but for the most part, you're still at a high level and still working at your craft. What has this off season kind of done to you, or what have you had to do to kind of stay in shape and keep your mind right through this pandemic?
Yeah, that's a great question. Obviously there's protocols and everything, and trying to maintain health and through all this, and everybody has their own opinions and there's facts out there and everything, but just trying to stay focused in a time like this is pretty intense. But me personally, like I said, I'm from the Lehigh Valley, from Bethlehem right here, so I'm fortunate enough to train here, and I got a lot of people that support or want to help, and so I got into a gym fairly quick, where I could spend my own time. There's a mat area and everything, and brought in some people to train with. But I stayed pretty positive, and just kept grinding. But like I said, it's tough when you're trying to grind and then almost like not the purpose, but like the goal is like almost like fuzzy, in a way. You know what I'm saying? It's just everyone's training, but nobody knows what we're training for. You know what I'm saying? Or when we're going to compete again. So, so I've been doing it. One thing I've really been doing is lifting a lot. I've been super undersized all through college, and even a little bit in the international level. So it's cool because I kind of forced myself to kind of step off the mat for a little bit, and not because when you try to lift really heavy weights, and try to wrestle really hard, it's hard. It's really tough to do that because your body is constantly being broken down, and then one of the toughest things to do is try and wrestle. So it's just a lot of recovery that I've been really working on. So my biggest thing I would say is just working on recovery.
That's awesome. And I like to ask this question. Somebody at your level, already been through the college thing. Now you're on the world level. Is it different? Like the younger kids really need mat time and they need sparring time, and they need drill time with another body. But at your level, is that needed as much, or are you more trying to work on, to critique what you're good at already?
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy because, wrestling's wrestling. And that's one of the things actually I use mentally to kind of calm myself down, is that like, hey man, I've been wrestling for 18, 19 years now. It's just another wrestling match. You know what I'm saying? Like there's not much I can do to kind of, leading up to the match, like literally walking up to the match. There's not much I can physically do that's going to prepare me for this match. So I'm just like, hey man, like it's just a wrestling match. You know how to wrestle. You've been wrestling your entire life. So yeah, I mean, just at this point, it's tough because everybody is elite. Everybody is elite. Everybody's a national champ. So you have to kind of redefine yourself. And that's something I've been trying to do. And I think with this break that we've had with COVID and everything, I think I'm excited to get back out and kind of showcase the new wrestler that I've become. And, we've been working on specifics like you've been talking about. And because, the general in wrestling is, like I said, everyone knows how to wrestle. So to be the best and, get to the next level, you really have to sharpen your sword. So I've been doing that, been sharpening my weapons. And like I said, just put on a little bit of size, which I think was pretty important in my aspect. And like I said, it's awesome, man. It's awesome.
Man, that's awesome. So, first things first, talk about, getting to grow up in PA, getting to grow up in that wrestling hotbed, 2-time, AA state champ, 3-time state placer, having a dad as a coach all the way up into high school.
Yeah, absolutely.
153-8. And then, man, you still hold the top 3 finishes at the Walsh Ironman.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. But how does growing up in PA and being on that wrestling battlefield or whatever prepare you for the next level and prepare you for college?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about a little bit earlier. The depth is definitely one thing that's huge there. You know what I mean? And I've said this, in a bunch of interviews, and I actually just saw Zane this weekend. But I grew up wrestling Zane Rutherford and Jason Nolf and Chenzo Joseph and Zahid Valencia was in my bracket at some point, and all these big guys and big names. And specifically in PA, it's just the depth is there and the talent is there. And I wrestled Ethan Lezak actually in the NCAA finals, and that was one kid that I and this is so funny because all the clinics I do and your practices I run, I make sure at the end I tell these kids, I'm like, look to your left and right, because you never know if you're gonna wrestle that kid in the NCAA finals. And that's exactly what happened to me. I grew up wrestling at Weaver Elite, Bobby Weaver, Olympian, awesome guy, Olympic champ for Easton, Lehigh Valley, where I grew up. And we ran this little wrestling club, and Ethan Lezak was just there, and we would train together, and we would compete at our little league tournaments and stuff like that. So I mean, that's just a true testament to show that the talent is super deep here in Pennsylvania and specifically Lehigh Valley. But I think that would be the main difference. Just I was always battle tested, right? I was always battle tested, and fortunate enough, I had my dad as a coach, and all he did was just care, right? He just cared so much, and he was just like, you know what? If you want to be the best, he made me wrestle all these guys, right? I remember sometimes I would bump up a weight class, to wrestle, Zane at a tournament, and it's just awesome. Now we can talk about it, we can joke about it, but in reality, it made me the person I am today. And man, just like I was saying, we're always battle tested here in PA, and we're so fortunate to have this many guys, and we have guys placing like 5th or 6th in the state, end up going to be national champs and stuff like that. So we're very fortunate to have the depth.
Man, that's awesome. And how I think it said that your dad coached you up until high school, and then kind of let your high school coach take over. Man, that had to be hard going from coach back to dad.
Believe it or not, man, it was one of the coolest things, to be honest. And it's cool. And I'll call him today, and because I'm still competing and training, and we've developed this cool relationship. It only strengthened our relationship, nonetheless. But we developed this relationship where he can give me 2 sets of advice. He can give me the dad. I always ask for both. And if I don't like one answer, I'll ask for the other. So he either gives me the dad advice or the coach advice, because he's both pretty much. So he does a really good job of kind of, removing his emotions or his personal thoughts out of it, and kind of just give me the coaching perspective, because he still does coach my high school now to this day. So it's really cool. But yeah, that step, he was more excited to be a fan. That just goes to show how big of a pain in the butt I was and all the work that I needed. But he was more excited to be a fan. So he shipped me off to, college, which is, funny. It's right down here down the road. But I stayed at college, all 5 years there. And I stepped into a whole new family, Lehigh and, Coach Santorum and the staff are, and the teammates that I've had and leaders I've had, and Nate Brown, stuff like that, just awesome guys. And it was, I just hit the ground running.
That's awesome. Now, I know you've been doing some coaching and some clinics. So, do you prefer the observation or do you still prefer the experience?
Yeah. I don't know. For some reason, it's a different feeling, man. When you get into coaching a little bit, and I sat in the corner a couple of times, and I remember most recently I was in the corner for the Penn State Lehigh duel, and I had there was it was Jordan Wood was wrestling, Anthony Cassar, obviously, return national champ, wrestling return All-American, real good dual meet, and blood time happened, or maybe it was injury time, I'm not sure, but Jordan Wood, a heavyweight, comes over and is talking to the coaches, and I kind of stepped in my first dual meet on the bench too, so I didn't know how to step in and use my coaching knowledge, but I kind of weasel my way into the circle, and I'm like, hey Jordan, I really think that you can do this move right here because he's reaching like this, blah, blah, blah. And Jordan just locks eyes with me and says, okay. And I don't know what to expect. It's my first time,
yeah.
And I was on the team with a couple of these guys too. So they respect me a lot and they know what I've done and, know how I train and they know I care the most. So he goes out there and he takes down Anthony Cassar literally 10 seconds, after they get back to wrestling in the exact, sequence that I had kind of told him, hey, look out for this. And when he does this, do this, And it was only 2 points and, Jordan ended up losing the match and it was a close match, but just to have that influence on somebody and have that impact and have, the fact that he listened to me, And
it worked.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing. I was like, holy crap.
I know it's going to happen next time. Like, no, Darian, let's work on this.
Yeah. Just wait until I tell you to, be an NCAA champ. You know what I mean? So it's such a good feeling, but personally, nothing is better than, we were talking about this earlier as well, like a challenging bracket, right? When you get into a bracket, and that's where I'm at now, all the guys I'm competing against are, best of the best in the United States or in the world, so I think as of right now, it's, as exciting as that coaching moment or those coaching moments will be. So as of right now, I think one of the most exciting thing is, being able to step into a bracket where the minimum is at least one NCAA title. You know what I mean? The minimum is, so it's being able to walk away with that bracket or being able to, hold your own in a pond, in a pond like that is something that, I don't know if it's pride or I get excited just talking about it. It's a competitive edge that, it just makes you hungrier and hungrier. So, until that dies down, I would have to give it to, being in the moment and creating those moments, because I just know for a fact that once, I continue to grind and continue to, accomplish all these awesome things, it's only going to help me in the coaching aspect. So
yeah,
as of right now, I am learning how to coach, which is funny.
That's cool. What, so you're a PA kid, what, you've got, man, several high octane colleges at the D1 level in Pennsylvania. What made you choose Lehigh?
You kind of mentioned it earlier. I had a brother that came to Lehigh a year before me. Realistically, I didn't know much about college wrestling, which sounds crazy. You know what I mean? It sounds crazy only because we kind of stuck to our. We were too busy worried about who we're going to be in high school. You know what I mean? Let alone college. So, but I don't want to say I knew nothing about college wrestling. I knew bare minimum. I barely knew who John Smith was. You know what I mean? I only knew he coached Jordan Oliver because he's an Easton guy who's he grew up down the street from me. So I was a big Jordan Oliver fan growing up, and still am obviously. But my first NCAA tournament that I watched was in Philly, right down the road here, and I went to watch Jordan wrestle. And Zach Ray had won it that year. He was from Lehigh, and I remember thinking like, man, I don't even know where Lehigh is, but that heavyweight he's an animal. And me and him actually became really, really good friends, which is another story. But yeah, the family aspect of it was really big for me. And I come from a strong family, and Bethlehem Catholic in high school. We had our whole team was just a strong family, and not only were we teammates, right? So not only were we teammates, but we succeeded as a team. You know, when me and my brothers had gotten to Bethlehem Catholic, we hadn't won a state title in X amount of years. It's been a while, but as soon as I got there, my freshman year we didn't win a state title, didn't even make it out of districts. But from my sophomore year on, we won, I think 7, 8, 9 straight state titles, something like that. So it's just we knew how to become a part of a family. So when I was looking for colleges, I was just looking for that family feel. You know what I mean? And like I said, I didn't know much about the Big Ten schedule or all these really, really big schools, but I knew that PA was the hotbed for wrestling, and I obviously knew there's a lot of D1 programs in Pennsylvania. But as soon as I had my first conversation with Coach Santorum and the staff, it just blew me away how genuine they were. You know what I mean? And I understand, college wrestling can be a business, but I felt like, this guy has got my back, right? If I'm leaving my family, I want to know, the guy that's, or the team that's bringing me in is going to have my back. And, I'm not bashing any other places. I'm just saying, to make a 16, 17-year-old kid at the time feel that certain way, it's tough, man. That's another part of the coaching that I'm not, 100% at is the recruiting part. But they had a tremendous impact on me, and yeah, man, just how genuine they were, which is big.
What does Pat Santorum mean to you today?
Oh man, if I could put it in a word, or maybe a couple words, let me think. I would say
stepdad.
Yeah, right. I'm trying to put the highest praise on him, you know what I mean, in like a word. Just somebody who could have the weight on his shoulders, but still make sure that you're priority. You know what I'm saying? This man he deals with, just think about any college coach in general. You know what I mean? I'll break down this way. Any college coach has to deal with the age of 17 to 21, 22. You know what I mean? That's a crazy time in your life, right? You're learning how to be a man and you're away from your parents, all this stuff. But his job relies on, a couple dozen of those kids. Man, like I just remember, Coach Santorum, and still to this day, one of the biggest things was that he cared about you as a person, right? Like whether you were good at wrestling or not, he's like, man, I want to make sure you get a good degree. I want to make sure you're a great man. And I know some wrestling, so let's try and win some titles. You know what I mean? So he was just constantly, for me personally, the word I would put on him is forgiving, because he dealt with me and that was a pain in the butt. You know
what did it mean to have your brother there with you?
He was all the motivation I needed. You know what I mean? Just because I was always trying to just impress my brother. He was obviously, a year older than me, so everybody on the team knew him, but I was always trying to impress my brother. Always, always, always. You know what I mean? I was trying to just make sure he thought I was cool. I didn't care if anybody else on the team thought I was cool. I was like, as long as my brother thinks I'm still cool, then.
Does it make the highs and lows of college a little bit easier to have a best friend there with you to be like,
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, that's somebody that you don't have to speak words to, and you're connecting on that level. You know what I mean? You don't have to express yourself verbally. You know what I mean? You look over and you're like, we've done that before in the room. We looked at each other like, hey, we better pick it up. You know what I mean? Or we looked at each other after big matches. You know what I mean? We're in the locker room. We're just like, we're like the last ones, in the locker room. Last ones like in the shower, just like, man, like we feel for each other when we take losses, right? So the highs are awesome, right? We're raging, we're jumping each other because we've been there when we were 5 or 6 years old, right? Where we lost like a kickball game. You know what I mean? We were so mad. You know what I mean? And so we've been there for when we've had success, and we've been there for when we were down. And it's just somebody that or just knowing that somebody is there on the team with you, going through hell, all the workouts, whether you're, sweating. Sometimes I didn't know if I was sweating or crying at practice. So I was just leaking out of my face because the workouts were so hard. But
you're Hispanic.
You're somebody to go through that. Say it again.
You're Hispanic, right?
Yeah.
So my wife is from Puerto Rico. So my kids
awesome. Awesome.
Are half Puerto Rican, but we have two boys, 14 and 11.
Mm-hmm.
And she always tells them, man, blood is blood, you know?
Oh my gosh, yes.
No matter how many arguments, no matter
mm-hmm.
today, tomorrow, but no matter for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm. So you understand the family dynamic.
Yeah.
But that's exactly how it was, man. Like you just saying that, like I almost started sweating because I'm like, you just hit the nail on the head, right? That's exactly how it is. And there's been times where we've there's been weeks straight where we hated each other. You know what I mean? But our lockers are right next to each other, but you know what I mean? So we're still, it never left. You know, it always got solved, right? It always got solved. It never left, you know.
When it all matters, you should have each other's back.
And that's how it was. And I was so fortunate, you know, whether we were on the mat, whether we were off the mat, you know, in school and stuff like that, and, you know, social settings. It's just, everything was great. Everything was great. I really recommend it.
Yeah, that's
you know
cool.
What I mean?
Now, Coach Bud Hennenbaugh said, thanks for having Darian on. Pat Santorum is an excellent coach.
Mm-hmm.
Human being, he truly cares about his athletes. So
unbelievable. And I wish I could say more about it, but I'm telling you, it's an awesome feeling.
Is your brother wrestling at the world level now too, or is he off?
So he, you know, he got right into working, and he actually, you know, took a different route. So he, you know, obviously works construction management, and, you know, awesome job. He still lives right around here. But he got into jiu-jitsu a little bit, which is super interesting. He was never really the aggressive type. You know, you watch his style. He was really good on top, right? Really funky, really scrambly. A hassle on top. So, you know, kids wouldn't pick down on him. So he was always, you know, good at scrambling, wrestling around and rolling around. So when he said he was going to start trying jiu-jitsu, I was like, that's awesome. When are we competing? You know what I mean? And so it's cool that, you know, he's doing that. And I think me still competing almost like had him want to compete more too. You know what I mean? So it's so crazy because he's such a competitor as well. And
yeah, he's living through you.
Exactly. So it's awesome, man. I'm telling him, I'm excited he's going to be competing soon, and, you know, while working and everything. So he's a savage.
Cool, man. So I know you guys up at Lehigh, you got a Florida stud up there now, mm-hmm. Malik Hines, man. I know you've spent some time with him and the family, but you know, talk about his future. What you see from this guy, and you know, what can he do at that level?
Yeah, man. I mean, I saw him literally this morning, and, you know, we're grinding, man, and his future is unbelievably bright. And, you know, we were chatting about it a little bit. You know, I don't know if it's a connection of, you know, us being somewhat Hispanic, or, you know, either us being born, you know, I was born in Florida as well. But he's a tremendous athlete, you know what I mean? And he's a tremendous athlete in the sense that he's so creative. And there's been times where I get to sit out now and kind of watch and observe, where the coaches are like, man, how did Malik get out of that? Or how did Malik take this kid down? You know what I mean? Like, it almost just blows your mind, because sometimes we're like, is Malik trying? You know what I mean? So it just goes to show his ceiling and how limitless he can be. But that's why you come to, you know, college. You come to sharpen your tools and get better. And he obviously chose Lehigh because he wanted a great education. He wanted to be challenged academically and athletically, because, you know, Lehigh is up there with the, you know, top 10 schools in the country chasing the title. So, yeah, man, his growth after year one, man, everyone got to watch out, because he's coming for people this year. He's coming for heads his next couple of seasons, and awesome. You know, we're gonna get him ready, and yeah, so everybody in Florida is gonna have someone to watch, you know, specifically here at Lehigh, because, you know, Malik Hines is going to be a problem, and I'm excited for him, man. And I will lay it on the line every day to make sure he's on the top of that podium.
Pat Ortiz must be listening. He said, "My dude," and then he put shh.
Yeah, right. We know what's going on, man. I'm telling you, we got him in the works.
Hey, Pat just needs to keep having babies.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so he put Malik sucks. Shh.
Keep it down.
Can't stand that kid. He put, just keep having more kids, Pat.
Oh yeah. The little ones too are crazy, man. You watched in the water.
I was at the state tournament this year watching Jacobs. Jacobs do his thing and do his backflip when he won.
Yeah, we were all watching that too. Again, and he's been up here too at Lehigh, you know, just with his brother, and I've had like lunch and stuff with them.
He just
awesome family, awesome family.
He said Jacobs is on the way.
Heck yeah.
Cool. Hey Pat, good to see you, man, or good to hear from you, brother. Keep doing big thing with your boys, and congratulations. I saw you post the little one is going to LHP, so
heck yeah, it's exciting stuff.
Congratulations on that. And man, so you know, I wanted to ask you about our Florida boy, so thank you for answering that question. Now, on to the world level, man, what has Adidas meant to you, and having your back, and what has it meant for you to wear the USA?
Yeah, absolutely. It's big, you know, and I couldn't tell you, you know, how everything would have panned out coming out of high school or coming out of college even. But I was fortunate enough to, you know, link up with Adidas Wrestling, and we kind of had insight with Adidas just because, you know, Tom Scully was a Lehigh NCAA champ, Lehigh grad, still connected, but he kind of ran the, you know, the Adidas Wrestling aspect, at least that we knew of, you know what I mean? So whenever Lehigh needed shoes, the guy to hit up was, you know, Tom Scully, and he could relate because he had gone to Lehigh and he was a national champ at Lehigh. But you know what that means to me, and it's just another way into the family, right? It's another way I got into the family because I knew somebody who was part of the family, and they're like, hey man, this kid is, you know, he's an awesome athlete and he understands the value of family. And you know, that was the first thing that I kind of brought up when we had our meeting and I had our conversations was, you know, I'm so excited to represent the United States, so excited to represent, you know, Adidas Wrestling, because I know how much I just portrayed how much it meant to me. Because if something means to me, or if something is important to me, then, you know, obviously I'm going to take it and run it. But yeah, man, just what it means to represent the United States in general is unbelievable. The amount of support and the amount of opportunity just by wearing that USA flag. And, you know, going overseas, it was really eye-opening. You know what I mean? I've traveled everywhere in the United States, obviously competing, tournament here, tournament there. But to travel to Poland or, you know, Russia or, you know, Kazakhstan, Germany, all these awesome places where you're just being stared at the entire time. You know what I mean? Like everybody's just looking at you and they just can't stop looking at you wearing USA stuff, or, you know what I mean? And they're puzzled, or you're trying to communicate. You're trying to ask somebody, hey, where's the sauna? Where's the workout facility? Yeah. You can't understand them. It's a different feeling. You know what I mean? And so being able to represent the United States to people that like across the world, you know what I mean? People not from the United States, unbelievable feeling, you know what I mean? And it makes every win that much better.
What has been your, Darius said, what's good?
Yeah, Darius, I was just with him a couple weekends ago.
That's cool. What has been your favorite country to compete in?
Favorite country to compete in?
I mean, other than USA.
Yeah, obviously. Red, white, blue. Let me think. I think one of the cool places, let me think. If it's not Poland, because I actually got to compete in Poland, and that was awesome. I would have to say one of my favorite places that I've been. I didn't get to compete there, but I got to train with the starters. I was Zane Rutherford's workout partner for the World Championships, so I got to train with him. We had a training camp in Germany for a couple of weeks, and then flew from there to Kazakhstan for, you know, to watch them compete. I would say Kazakhstan was one of the coolest places to watch. You know what I mean? That was one of the coolest places to watch because obviously it's the World Championships. It was hostile. Like people were coming into this gym with full drums, like full high school drums. You know what I mean? And I remember like the one call on the mat during the medal rounds. You know, the light show and everything. It was a bad call, so people were throwing their water bottles out on the mat. You know what I mean? Like in almost every high school or college.
Well, listen, you're from Philly, so you're used to it.
You know what I mean? Like, you know how strict gymnasiums are? They're like, you can't even bring a bottle of water that you paid for in here. You know what I mean? You can't even bring that to the gymnasium. And then you got these people bringing in full drums and like full, you know what I mean? Like full like noisemakers. And then to have them like launching it onto the mats, it was hostile, but it's cool, man. Like just going into like just different environments, and some of them you're not ready for what's about to happen, but it's almost like it's more exciting that way. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like a little chaotic, and you're like, let's see what's gonna happen now. You just going like, I know they're not gonna like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I asked Coach DePaul, I don't know, DePaul, I don't know, in Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
His son is a young man going to a prep school now, but he's traveled for the juniors.
Mm-hmm.
And he said the tradition that he got to experience in India was pretty dope.
Oh, I can only imagine. And I heard Iran is super tradition as well. So
cool, man. Well, this has been dope, man. I've got some questions for you. You ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Here we go. The Phillies or the Eagles?
Go Birds. Big Birds fan.
I wasn't going to ask the Sixers because I think you and your brother like the Heat.
Yeah.
I seen him post it.
Have to.
It's weird. My grandma was from Philly, and she always rooted for the Celtics. Does anybody in Philly root for the Sixers?
That's funny.
It's funny.
I feel bad for the Sixers.
Yeah, man. 32 or Fargo?
I love Super 32, man, because it was just like that preseason tournament that just, you know what I mean? Like everybody went to, and it was like right before the season, so everybody wanted to see how good they really were before they got before everything was like kind of like documented. You know what I mean? Because like everything that happened in the summer doesn't really count technically, but it was like right before season, so. And I love Super 32. It took me a while to win that tournament, but I love that tournament.
All right, the big question: Geno's or Pat's?
I gotta go with Geno's. I almost don't even want to say. I want to say neither. You know what I mean? Just because I don't want to pick a side, but I think Geno's has to go Geno's.
I think I've always, I spent a couple of years up there, and I always went that route too. I think I just preferred the way they did it.
Exactly. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. But I mean, you can go to La Spadas. You can go.
You're right. You can literally, go to places that aren't that famous like that and get a great cheesesteak.
Yeah, I mean, I used to love those little nifty 50s.
Yeah, seriously.
Diners with 100 different flavors for your soda.
Oh my gosh. Just let you create whatever you want.
Yeah, it's awesome. All right. Reno or Tulsa?
Believe it or not, that's one tournament I haven't been to. Either of them. Those are two tournaments I haven't been to. Let me think though. I remember Reno always being the real deal. And isn't there what's the tournament? Oh, I'm thinking of Cliff Keen. No, but Reno. I don't know. I've never been to either one, but I remember Reno being the real thing.
All right, Little Italy or Chinatown?
Ooh.
You got two great.
That's intense.
Well, Italy is dope and
I love food.
Yeah, man.
I'm gonna go with. Gotta go with Little Italy. I can always put down Italian food.
The national duels or the Disney duels?
Disney. Love Disney duels. I had so much fun, man. I met some of my greatest friends there, and you know what I mean. Like they were so cool at that tournament. The schedule usually wasn't super intense. You maybe had like 2 matches for the day, and then you were by the beach. It was awesome.
Yeah, the one thing my son got to experience it last year, and he was really looking forward to it this year.
Yeah, it's fun.
But obviously, what happened didn't happen. But I think the best thing about it was the back room. I mean, he got like 30 goes back there. Just
right? Yeah, man. Like
line it up.
They just opened it up.
Yeah. Reading Market, which is dope. I love that place. Or South Street.
Gosh, you're killing me with these questions. I'm gonna have to go with the Reading Market.
Yeah, man, that place is a win.
Always.
All right, so you've been on both these levels, NCAAs or Worlds?
Oh man, that's tough. I personally, the NCAAs. I remember, I explained it to some of the college kids that I'm on my team with now. You will never get that much opportunity or that many fans or that many viewers, right? To really focus on what you're doing, at the time. Right, NCAA, there are so many people in the United States that are huge fans of NCAA wrestling, right? And I remember being on that stage and being having positive, things to remember and negative things to remember in regards to the lights, I mean, the NCAA big mats and the big matches. But I had the most fun, and I know I'm sure I'm gonna have a lot of fun, competing internationally. But the most fun I had was just, rocking those awesome stages, because you knew that, everybody knew who you're wrestling, knew a little bit about you, knew a little about them, made a decision on who was gonna win, and you know what I mean. Like, there's just so many people that care about what you're doing in college.
That's awesome.
That I think that's what is the most joy, right? Just being able to put on a show for so many people that you don't even know. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I wasn't able to perform the way I did, I wouldn't be able to talk to you now. You know what I'm saying? So, I just think the excitement, at least in the United States, is really big on NCAA wrestling.
Yeah, I think I had a few guys tell me that.
Yeah, man, it's just different. It's hard to explain.
Never felt the energy they felt.
Yeah, and I remember my sophomore year, first time really out there, or second time out there, but the first time feeling it. You know what I mean? When I was a freshman, I didn't feel anything. I didn't know. But Madison Square Garden my sophomore year, I was like, I remember looking up and just walking out of the tunnel. You don't really hear much because you're very focused. But as soon as you step out and those lights, because you got this big spotlights, those lights are on top of it, and the second you look up and kind of lose your focus, the roar just gets louder and louder in your headgear, right? And obviously your headgear is muffled a little bit, but just the roar that you get in the NCAA tournament, any round, right? It could be the morning round, is something special, man. So
I've been told the closest experience to that is the Southern Scuffle.
Yeah. That and Medved as well. Those two, winter tournaments that just have it packed, right? And I would compare that. Another feeling like that was when the World Cup was here in LA. I'm sure the U.S. had it packed up, for the freestyle World Cup championships when it was back here in LA. But yeah, man, just the vibe or the energy that you feel in that arena, you almost have to ignore it and appreciate it later, because you'll just get caught up in it, man. I'm telling you.
So how about the Philly pretzel or the tasty cake?
I love baked goods. I love tasty cake.
I remember working in the car dealership up there, and like the little old dude would pull up and he'd have a bag of 3 for $1.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Heck yeah, man. And same thing with me. On my way to school every morning, my pops would just give me like those little tasty cakes, the peanut butter ones, the peanut butter circles, a pack of theirs, and that's all I needed for the day.
That's awesome, man. I know you've won both of these, Beast or Iron Man.
Oh man, I remember Iron Man was so tough. But I think I would have to give it to Beast. Just because, I mean, obviously they both have their history and stuff like that. I just remember Iron Man or Beast was more of a positive experience for me. But the guys that I wrestled in the finals, like one year I wrestled Joey McKenna in the finals of Beast, and the other year I wrestled Chenzo in the finals of Beast. You know what I mean? And and then the one year I lost to Kolazic. You know what I mean? So I remember the tournaments just being so insane, and I would have to give it to Beast because I think I performed a little bit better at Beast.
That's cool. And then I'm looking over my questions here. Coach Anthony Cerullo of Tenorock down here in Polk County. He asked, he said, you wrestled for Lehigh. How were you able to mentally prepare for the guys of like Penn State, Ohio State, the big boys when you got into those matches?
Yeah. So, obviously Lehigh's being a smaller school. What was cool about, the whole Lehigh experience was that, we were the number one sport on campus, which was awesome. You know what I mean? Because we had bigger goals of being a national championship team. You know what I mean? So, another good, point, to praise Coach Pat was he always gave us such a tough schedule. We damn near had a Big Ten schedule every year. We wrestled all this. I remember I wrestled we wrestled Iowa, followed by Penn State. You know what I mean? We were always back-to-back matches, and then we'd have to wrestle like the Cornells and Penns in our conference. But I'm telling you, Coach Pat had our schedule loaded. and he was not afraid to have us compete. You know what I mean? Have us, battle with the best teams, or go into Carver Hawkeye, or go into Bryce Jordan Center, and just you know what I mean, have that opportunity. So come NCAAs, we've been to this scuffle. You know what I mean? You've been competing with the best guys, and just kind of reassuring. Coach Santoro makes sure that when you're training to be the best. You're not training to get on the podium or compete with the Big Ten or the big schools. You're going to take over, right? You're training to be the best at your weight class. No divisions, right? No conferences. It doesn't matter where you're. But to get me prepared, for those big matches, was just thinking about that the whole time, right? That wrestling's wrestling, and the better man obviously is going to win. But just know how well prepared we were, right? So we always had obviously we didn't have to go to the Big Ten tournament, but we had a Big Ten schedule. So we saw these guys in dual meets, sometimes back to back, right? So we had to make weight, back to back days, which we always hated as a team. But in the end, how awesome that the opportunity was. You know what I mean? To struggle, making back to back weight, having back to back, insane dual meets. Like some guys had number 1 kid in the country and then the number 2 kid in the country. You know what I mean? Back to back. But just getting thrown out to the wolves, or getting just kind of tossed in that tornado, you get, you either bend or you break. You know what I mean? You either bend and you succeed, you straighten up and succeed, or you're gonna break. And just being battle tested in and out was all that we needed.
I mean, I think the conference that you're in.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty. I mean, look what Penn and Cornell and Princeton.
Yeah. All those Ivy League schools as well. And we have a big conference. You know what I mean? We have like, I want to say 15 teams, 16 teams. Like I think, and maybe even more. Maybe I'm not counting some teams. I haven't counted in a while, but I'm telling you, we have a lot of people in our conference, and we don't take as many as the Big Ten. Big Ten, damn near takes everybody. You make weight and you're going to the NCAAs.
And I remember I talked to Coach Ayers over at Princeton.
Oh yeah, awesome guy.
And the same thing, he said, I built the schedule from day one to get to where we are now.
Yeah.
We started to beat these teams, and we're going to start being ranked and get better. And now,
and you see the schedule that they put out, and you see them, you're like, man, why? Or sometimes you see dual mates, like, why is Iowa wrestling Princeton? You know what I mean? It's because there's a reason to that madness. You know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna get starstruck, might as well be a dual mate that doesn't hold that much weight. You know what I'm saying? You get the experience of going out and wrestling the best without having to worry about if you're gonna, like, the sun's coming up tomorrow. You know what I mean? And you're either gonna win the dual mate or lose the dual mate. But either way, that's where the line is drawn. That's it. You know what I mean? You're not worried about, if I lose to this guy, I'm gonna have to wrestle this guy, or it's, you know what I mean? So just throwing your team out there is something that, Coach Santoro, and you see it in Coach Ayers, and these smaller schools are trying, because obviously we're not in the conference with the Big Ten, so we're not forced to wrestle, but we are challenging. We wrestled Oklahoma State this year, and that was an awesome dual mate. You know what I mean? Watching our guys compete.
My uncle came down. He said the last large event that he was at before COVID was the big tournament at Lehigh, where
WWAs,
and so all the Ivy Leagues, right? So
so, and
that's pretty cool. I mean, listen, we watched look at these big tournaments where we're seeing Ivy League kids get invited to the rooftops and the float.
Yeah, right, and these big events, and man, and that goes part of like the program you're around, right? So you got these coaches that aren't putting you in opportunities to compete with the best, shame on them for not, giving you the opportunity to try and beat the best, right? To be the best, you got to beat the best. There's no way around it, man. You know what I mean? Like, it's really hard to say you're the best if you haven't, beaten the best. So, and our coach never shied away from that. You know what I mean? As nervous as I was, going back, having the number 2 kid, like my freshman year, I think our first 3 dual mates was like, I had Nico Megaludis first dual mate, you know what I mean? And then I had to wrestle, Thomas Gilman from Iowa. I had to wrestle Zanetta from Pitt, who was ranked like 5th or 6th. And I'm a true freshman, undersized. And I'm like, Coach Pat, are you sure you want me to start?
Well, 125 is just
exactly.
Right? I mean, Which one is it? 125 now, where Lee and all those boys are.
Yeah, right. So it just and they're getting better younger, man, and which is only helping the sport. So I'm telling you, man, when it comes to that question, being a small school and trying to compete with the big dogs, it's not about the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog. You know what I mean? And that's something that's so true, because if any dog that's ready to scrap, he'll scrap. You know what I mean? And we were battle tested every day in the room, and we were reminded every day in the room that we deserve to be, we deserve to be with anybody. You know what I mean? And I think the history of Lehigh, us having the amount of national champs that we have, and I think that was a big part too, just knowing that your school, even though it's small, has a tradition of excellence, right? Has a tradition of NCAA champions. So I think we're like, top 5 in NCAA champions as a school, right behind, Penn State, Oklahoma State, all Iowa, all those big programs. But yeah, we're right up there with those guys. And statistically you would think otherwise, but it's awesome knowing that.
Yeah. And you have one of them.
Exactly. That's even better, right? I get to contribute.
Yeah, you got to. So Coach Crum says he does the computer work at Iowa, EIWA, 17 teams now. I enjoy watching Darian his whole career. And then Romeo Mascara, Cruz is the truth.
Heck yeah, man. And that's all I'm spitting, man. So
awesome, man. Well, hey, listen, it was like I told you before we came on, man. It's an absolute honor to have you on here. Thank you so much. And please share my link with all your friends. They can come on too.
Absolutely, man. I was telling you earlier, wrestling community is real small. So don't be surprised if you get some heavy hitters coming in soon.
Yeah, man, please. And I hope it's you that invites them.
Absolutely.
Hey, peace, man. Enjoy Philly. I love that town. And, as I tell everybody, keep kicking life's ass, my brother.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, Dan.
All right, man. You take it easy.